This podcast is not affiliated with any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous antics and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and should be dismissed immediately.
No, I'm not ready. Too bad?
I think we're on.
Oh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 14. What are we? We're the podcast guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody important.
Nobody important, that's for sure. I'm your host, Joe.
Co-host Dave.
Co-host Jason.
Gus Pete.
Yep. Our special guest tonight is Brother Pete Vargas Moss from Centennial Lodge here in Omaha. What have we been up to, Dave?
Oh boy, a little bit of everything. It's parade season for the shrine, so busy with that. All kinds of stuff going on at the shrine all the time. Last night, Beehive Lodge did an initiation of two guys to
They're men.
EA. They're men to EA degree. So that was kind of fun. So that's about where I'm at. So.
Yeah, that's about what I've done. Get ready for that, and more doctor's appointments and more pills.
More probing.
So I feel like your throat's tightening up, right? So they give you this pill. It's about half the size of that beer can. Hey, just take this twice a day. No big deal. But no, on the way home from Lodge last night from initiation, it was like somebody put a quarter in Gabe.
I bet.
Yeah, he was pretty excited.
Good.
Yeah, he was excited afterwards when speaking with him.
I sent him a text this morning, but right after he got to work. I said, "Can you believe you're a real Freemason?" I said, "How cool is that?" He's like, "It's about as cool as being forklift certified." It's like, I don't really know how to take that.
Yeah, right.
Because forklift certification is not that cool. Pete, what have you been up to?
Well, lately it's been mostly work and trying to keep up with being the secretary of Centennial Lodge.
Yeah.
What's your occupation?
I am a IT engineer. I'm a consultant at the moment, and I work over at the base.
Okay.
Which means he's far smarter than we are.
Yes. Much smarter.
No, because I'm still an IT worker. I've been an IT worker for about 40 years now, and most people would have thought I would have retired by now, but that's just more proof that I'm just not that smart.
Okay. And going to school, you said.
And going to school in the evenings to get a degree in IT.
IT.
Exactly. Because I wasn't smart enough to finish it 40 years ago when I first started it. And at this point, getting a degree in anything other than IT would be counterproductive.
Right.
So I might as well just retrofit the degree on my existing skill set and call it a day.
Yeah.
It's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's just that the way the country is now, if you don't have a degree, there's jobs I can never have solely because I don't have a degree.
A piece of paper. Yeah.
I can't be a VP. I can't be a teacher. I can't do any of those things because of a piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah. Jason, what have you been up to?
Well, pretty much the same as you two gentlemen with the proof ups last night. One thing I'd say about that is nice to see some young blood come into it
Yeah.
with that kind of excitement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. It's good for the lodge. Other than that, work, more work, and
Well, you spent a bunch
Playing.
of you spent a bunch of money on the front yard.
oh yeah. Had the stoops and the whole stairs tore out and redone. That was
It's not cheap.
nice little penny that we had to spend, and playing the old blood sugar roller coaster. But other than that, I'm pretty good.
So I thought of a toast to do. I don't normally think of a toast, but we were talking on the way home last night. We had several people on the sidelines last night.
Yeah.
But we had 3 specifically that were there because of this show.
Correct.
And I think that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
That is
So-
pretty cool.
And that two of them from Lincoln. Came up from
Two
College View.
from College View Lincoln, and one from Mercer.
Mercer. Yeah.
Which there was 2 other brothers there from Mercer, but this particular gentleman is. We've sent lots of messages on Facebook and stuff like that. So he's a fan of the show and watches all the episodes. So I'm just gonna say he came because of the show.
I don't see why he couldn't.
So here's to the show collectively, the guests we've had, the guests we're gonna have, and
to our guests that were at Lodge because of this podcast.
yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
Glad to have
All right.
You guys, thank you.
you. That tastes really good.
It did. Should have another toast. Let's toast to toast.
Since it feels like it's the surface of the sun outside.
A toast to sliced bread.
Yeah.
That's Betty White.
So Pete, so we met you at Grand Lodge. We should start there.
Yeah.
Met you at Grand Lodge this last February when we had our little table set up, and we were in baby stages of doing stuff. Don't worry, we're not any better now. But you started. I think you were one of the guys that were kind of the fence about being on the show because I don't have anything interesting to talk about. But then you did.
What seemed interesting?
All of it.
Okay.
So that's one of the big foundations of this show is, I don't think my story is that unique, right? But when you tell people that aren't Masons or even other Masons that had a different experience, everyone's journey is unique. So that's kind of why we started this whole thing is we just want everybody to be able to tell their story and make it relatable.
Well, my journey started in Pennsylvania. I used to live in South Central Pennsylvania, and I became a member of a lodge that shall remain nameless to protect the guilty. They actually went to they had a fair in town, and they set up a booth at the fair, and they were talking about the Masons. And I met a gentleman there that was very persuasive, very intelligent. He was a retired member of the the Pennsylvania State Police. And I visited the lodge. I met the people there, and it seemed like a good thing to do. It seemed like it lined up with what I was doing anyway in my normal life, which was trying to get involved with charities, helping people, mentoring people in IT mostly, because that's what I do for a living.
Right.
And I ended up joining. That was in January of 2015.
Okay.
So I was raised in January of 2015. And everybody talks about Pennsylvania being a little different from all the other 49 states. It is. It is. I became secretary of that lodge, and as an officer of the lodge, I had to wear a tux to every meeting, which isn't that bad. I heard there was a lodge in Maryland where everybody wore a tux to every meeting.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Is that since is it in Pennsylvania? Since you go dark in the summertime, do you meet twice a month?
in the summertime, we would go dark. I think it was, if I remember correctly, July, August, the hot months.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes June, July, August, depending on the lodge.
So not the whole summer.
Not the whole summer, just enough time so that people that had kids or wanted to go on a vacation could do that without worrying about missing lodge. They would also let the officers go and spend time with their families on vacation.
Right.
But the lodge turned out to be really interesting because after a while, I actually had a past master tell me that this is not a social club. And that really made me think, why are you saying that, and what do you mean it's not a social club? What are we trying to do? I thought hanging out with your brothers and making good men better and all that was part of the whole
absolutely.
thing.
Right.
So it turns out that the lodge was pretty much dominated. It was ran by what I used to refer to as the cabal of past masters. And if they didn't approve of something, it wasn't going to happen. The guy that became worshipful master the year that I became secretary, we decided that we were going to try to revitalize the lodge. And we went out and got some donations. We actually got a pool table. We had all the equipment for it. We had ping pong tables. We had board games and card tables. And we set up the basement like a party room, pretty much. And that was to encourage the membership to come out, hang out at the lodge, and talk to people and just meet everybody else at the lodge.
Right.
They were totally against it. That's when I was told that this is not a social club. Why are you setting this up as a social club? And that lasted a very short amount of time because mysteriously, I wonder how that happened, the district deputy grand master found out and came over to see it. And he thought it was great because he was actually a really good guy and was really interested in giving people a reason to go to the lodge and expanding the membership. So as soon as he thought it was great, the cabal of past masters thought it was great too. So they got behind the idea. I don't know if any of that stuff's still there. There were other things that happened that kind of drew me away from that lodge. Part of the problem was that they would show up once a month to the stated meeting, they would go through the ritual, and that was it. Twice a year, they would have one wine tasting, they would have one golf outing. That was the entirety of the activity for that lodge.
Ouch.
Even after a meeting, they wouldn't go out and have a beer or go out and get something to eat or just hang out and talk to each other. No. Do the ritual, go home. And that wasn't what I was looking for from Freemasonry. So I actually ended up demitting from that lodge. Mm. Now, on the other side of the area where I lived, there was Gettysburg. And I ended up joining Good Samaritan Lodge in Gettysburg, Good Samaritan Lodge 326. Really great bunch of people. There's some people in there that are very, very savvy on the history of the Battle of Gettysburg,
okay.
Obviously, since that happened.
Mm-hmm. Their backyard, yeah.
And a very eclectic group and a wide range of ages and occupations. And people that are actually interested in being at the lodge and doing activities and going out to a dinner or joining the 4th of July parade or doing things for the community, doing charity, and very active lodge. Now, after a while, this actually happened in 2020, due to COVID and things that happened in 2020, I was asked to work from home for 2 weeks. 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Okay.
You guys probably remember that happening.
Yep.
And 2 weeks turned into 2 months. And I talked to my company. At the time, my job was actually across the border, 10 miles across the border into Maryland. I was working at Fort Detrick, Maryland, and commuting every day, about a 40-minute commute. But I talked to the company. And I said, well, it doesn't seem like it matters that I'm over here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and you're in Maryland. I'm in a different state, and still everything's working. And I said, oh yeah, this is great. We're getting all the work done. The customer's happy. All the IT stuff's working. I said, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter what state I'm in, huh? And they fell for it. They went, yeah, it doesn't matter. I said, great, I'm moving to Nebraska, with or without you. So I renegotiated my employment contract, and I became one of the most remote employees that I know of. So I spent the next 4 years in my basement working remotely on IT systems. Huh. Me, the laptop, and the cell phone. I did ask the boss, I said, do me one favor. Don't tell anybody that I'm remote. Let's see how long we can get away with this. And it was about 2 years before somebody figured out that Pete's remote, which is pretty good. That means I was effective. I was getting things done. So now I live here. I live in Papillion. And when I got to Nebraska, at first I didn't really look for a lodge. I ended up meeting the National Sojourners first.
Okay.
So I joined the Sojourners, Omaha Chapter 19. And for those of you that may not have heard of Sojourners, they are a pendant body to Masonry. In order to join the Sojourners, you have to be both a Master Mason and a military veteran.
Right.
There are Sojourners, though, there are honorary Sojourners, that are not military veterans, but they've done so much for the community that they were asked to join anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the vast majority of them are military veterans from all the branches. We even let Marines join.
Ooh.
So we're very, very open to these things.
Yeah, very accommodating.
Very accommodating, yes. We meet once a month over at Cassio's.
Do you serve crayons?
We do actually have the crayon and Marie's,
Okay,
just
all
in
right.
case the Marines
Just
come over. But they're also a very good bunch of people. If you ever have any kind of event that involves the military or involves the U.S. flag, the Sojourners have a activity that we call the Toast to the Flag. And we would be more than happy to send somebody out to join the activity and perform the Toast to the Flag. We have other things that we can do. It's all on the website. But that's how I ended
that
up.
website?
That would be on Google.com. We can edit this out later. www.nationalsojourner. No. Sojourner. Yeah, see, they got a webpage now. Nationalsojourners.org is the national site, which, by the way, the national president is a member of Omaha Chapter 19.
Nice.
And who is that?
That would be Brother Carl Diamond,
Oh, okay.
Worshipful Brother Carl Diamond,
Okay.
who's also a member of Centennial Lodge.
Yeah.
So I joined Sojourners and I spent some time with them, and then I started looking at what lodges are there in Omaha. And at the time I discovered there seemed to be about 17 lodges. And I'm thinking, wow, how does this area support 17 lodges? And I started calling people and just looking around. And the top two lodges that actually talked to me were Bellevue Lodge and Centennial Lodge. They seemed to be the most active. And at the end of the day, Centennial Lodge won my affection because they chased me a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit harder. And they just said, yeah, come on over. Little did I know what they were doing was trying to trap me into becoming the secretary. For Centennial Lodge. So now I'm the secretary.
Ask that guy over there. He's kind of the lifetime secretary for our lodge. Yeah, he's never going to get away from
Probably not.
Awesome. Secretary, Lodge secretary has changed a lot over the years. When I was secretary the first time, a lot of paper, a lot of printing.
Right.
Now it's all online.
Oh, yeah.
And when they heard I was an IT guy, they went, hey, how would you like to be secretary?
This would be easy for him.
And I said, I've been secretary before. I know what you're trying to get me to do. But
Dave, our secretary is not an IT guy.
No, he is not.
and for the sake of argument, you really don't have to be an
No.
IT guy to be secretary.
No.
You just need to be
Especially with
able
this
to-
new Grandview system that we're using here in Nebraska.
Yeah.
It can pretty much walk you right through it. So.
If you can get on a computer, check your email, and surf to Amazon.com and buy something, you have the technical ability to use Grandview and be
Yep.
secretary.
Yep.
Mostly it's data entry.
Right.
So quite a nice system. Yes, Grand Lodge, I love Grandview.
It's working well. Thank you guys.
Yes.
Wink,
Thank you very
wink.
much.
No, I'm probably on there once a week.
Oh, and that's one nice thing is then the membership can get into their portals on Grandview and view
And they
stuff
can
there.
pay their dues online.
Right.
Yeah.
Pay their dues online and just surf it with the information that's out there on Grandview. So
Not so much now, but I still get people that will say, Pete, you're an IT guy. I'm nervous about paying my dues online because I don't want to put my credit card information in the computer because they might get me. And my usual response to that is, there's about 350 million Americans now, and you're one of them. They don't have time to track you specifically to steal your stuff.
great.
The website does have all the usual IT protections to make sure that the connection's encrypted and it can't be intercepted, and they also don't like to be sued. So they will protect your information as much as possible. If you buy stuff from Amazon, you can pay your dues online. It's pretty safe.
Yeah.
And if you don't see any black helicopters hovering over your house, you're fine.
Right.
You can pay your dues online, you'll be fine.
Just curiosity, were you around your initial lodge long enough to see that the game room or social area started making a difference?
No.
Okay.
Some people used it, but fighting a culture that's been established for a while, it would have taken more than a year. And it would have needed buy-in from the past masters, from all the members of the lodge, really. You can't make change unless everybody wants to change.
Right.
And you're not going to attract people to the lodge unless people see that it's a lodge full of people that actually want to be there and want to do something and want to participate. There was some talk before I left Pennsylvania, because lodges talk about each other all the time, that lodge might end up merging with other lodges in the area because their membership was dwindling so much.
Okay.
I think literally people were dying to get out of there. The average age in that lodge was approaching 70, which is kind of high.
Right.
Where Gettysburg Lodge, I think the average age there is a lot lower because of having younger people in the mix. So, yeah, I never got to see if it actually made a difference, but I would hope that it did.
Right. Exactly.
If one person got convinced that masonry is pretty cool and you ought to join it and see what's going on, then I consider that a win.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And with our recent years of last 3-4 years of Beehive's membership growth, they've definitely helped us with our average age dropping.
Yeah, we've dropped our median age by what, 30, 40 years?
Yes. So.
By 34 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the last, say, 3 years.
Yeah.
We've dropped it 34 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think we had 8 or 9 guys that were under 24
Yeah.
at one time.
By the way, our worshipful master at Centennial Lodge, his last name happens to be Mason. So he's worshipful master Mason.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
I like that.
Yep, worshipful master Rick Mason.
Yep.
Really good guy.
So what initially brought you to masonry? What or who?
Well, when I was living in Pennsylvania, I met the Masons of the lodge that shall remain nameless. And we talked about it, and it just seemed like the goals of the Masons at that time lined up with what I was already trying to do in my own life, which is try to be helpful, try to do some charity work, try to give back to the community, mentor people. One of my hobbies is I like to take people that are interested in IT and teach them, share whatever knowledge I have with them. I don't know if it's because of my age, but after a while of doing this job, you suddenly realize that it took a lot of time and effort and pain to get to where I am, and if I can alleviate that in somebody else, then I would love to do that.
Right.
The problem is, my second thought is remembering what I was like at age 21 and what my reaction would have been to a 50-something-year-old, a 50-year-old sharing information like that, and I would have said, yeah, you're crazy.
Right.
So I guess that's one of the punishments that God confers on us when we get past a certain age. But I mentor people when I can, and if somebody, I'd like to think that I try to be a decent human being, and if somebody needs help, I'll try to help them as much as I can. And it seems like the Masons were lined up with those goals that I had.
So is it like just a chance encounter, or you looked into masonry?
It was totally a chance encounter.
Really?
If the Masons had, I think if the Masons had not set up that booth in the town square, that conversation would have never happened, and I probably would have not become a Mason.
No kidding.
So it's a good thing that they actually reached out to the community and tried to, to build a membership. Because before that, my father-in-law was a Mason.
Okay.
And as far as both sides of the family know, they all think that my father-in-law was insane.
For being a Mason?
No, not for
Oh,
being a
okay,
Mason.
just being insane.
Just generally insane.
Okay.
You remember a show called All in the Family back in the
Yes.
70s? Remember
Yes.
Archie
Yep.
Bunker?
Archie Bunker?
Yep.
Right. That was my father-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess that makes me meathead. I don't know. But I can't say the man was racist because he wasn't. He hated everybody equally,
Okay.
but he was also a Mason. And that got me to wondering, do I really want to join a club full of guys like him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turned out that he was an aberration. He was not the norm at the time. Like he was, like some people will say, he was partially a product of his time, but I know he was crazy because over the years he got worse and worse and worse, and he ended up in a hospital at the end of his life, and I think he had dementia and Alzheimer's, and he just totally went off the deep end.
Yeah, that's a dangerous mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's buried here at Omaha. But for a long time, I would have probably become a Mason a lot sooner if I hadn't had that shining example of, what not to do as a Mason.
Right, right.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was just a chance encounter. Just Masons reaching out to other Masons, which it should happen all the time.
It is.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And that's where that elevator talk comes into play sometimes, where somebody sees you with some Masonic regalia on or whatever, and they ask you about it, and you give them that little snippet, and sometimes that sets the hook. So
Yeah, and sometimes it's not necessarily the elevator speech, but the strangest things will start the conversation. Like, I happened to be wearing a Masonic ring once at work, and I said, "Hey, I'm leaving an hour early, taking PTO, doing it legitly, and because I got something going on with the Masons." And somebody said, "Oh, you're a Mason, huh?" I said, "Yeah," and I heard the word Illuminati in the background. And I said, "Yeah, we're having our monthly meeting to see where we're moving the Holy Grail to this month." And then the conversation, people laughed, and then the conversation actually got a little serious, and we started talking about it. But sometimes the strangest things would be icebreakers.
right.
Like one time at work, I was lifting equipment up and putting it in a rack, and I was wearing a much looser shirt. And the sleeve of my shirt came back, and a young man saw my tattoo. And the first thing out of his mouth, "Oh, cool, Assassin's Creed." And I looked at him and I went, "No, that's not Assassin's Creed, and I'm very sorry that you saw that. Now I'm going to have to take you out." And his face got all pale, and I went, "No, I'm just messing with it. It's Masons. That's not Assassin's Creed." And then we talked about the Masons. So,
Yeah, it really is that where you try to treat everybody well, like we talked a couple episodes. Be the man that your dog thinks you are,
Right.
right? Because like with Gabe, when he asked me if he could come back and eat lunch with me back there, I could have said, "Nope, I hate people, and you're gonna stay. You eat in your truck. I don't really care." But he didn't. I was a nice guy for once. Let him back there, and now he's an EA as of last night.
Yeah.
But it's
And a good friend.
and a very good friend. But yeah, it's just, and it doesn't even have to be that empathetic, right? It can just be a quick, just be nice to people,
Yeah.
right? And it's contagious,
sometimes you just have to pull out the Crayola MREs and share.
right? My favorite was
So-
purple.
I'm an Air Force veteran, by the way, so veterans are allowed to give other veterans harassment. It's just a tradition.
It's a fully expected.
Yes.
My
Just
dad-
usually who gets the last word in is the winner, isn't it? Is that what how it works out?
We don't know that many words.
Okay.
My dad was a Marine a long time ago, Korean War. I'm a veteran of the first Gulf War. So is my wife. We were both sergeants. We actually met here on base.
Really?
Yeah.
It was actually kind of odd. Are you familiar with the layout of the base at all? Mm-hmm. Building 500 used to be Strategic Air Command headquarters.
Okay. Yep.
Right in the middle of it, there's a courtyard next to the cafeteria, and it used to be the smoke area. So we were out there, me and the guys I work with, we were out there about 2 o'clock in the morning one night having a belching contest, because apparently that's what the young sergeants do at 2 o'clock in the morning. And she was working in one of the other communication centers in the same building, and she was actually one rank higher sergeant than I was. I was a buck sergeant at the time. She was a staff sergeant. And she came out, and she won. She won the belching contest, and I went,
This is
that's
the
the
one.
girl for me. That's the one. So I was sitting on military orders to travel to England, and I had about 30. I had a couple of months left, not very long, and I figured this is great. I'm going to take her out on a date. We're going to have a great time. We're going to eat. We're going to do the dating thing, and then bam, I'll be 3,000 to 5,000 miles away. Never call, never write. Be an Air Force guy. 34 years later.
I want to break you up, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back, and we'll see if Pete ever married his wife.
And as our producer slides in.
Slides into our DMs.
Yes.
Whoa, weird. Okay, do you want to edit that out, or you want to just roll?
I can edit it out.
All right, ready? There we go, and we're back. So
we're all having a belching contest, and,
Yeah.
and the lady comes out and wins the belching contest, and I went, that's the girl for me right there. So I figured, I'm sitting on military orders, and I can go out on a date and a couple of dates and do all the dating stuff, and boom, 3,000 miles away, never call, never write, be that Air Force guy. Yeah, that worked out real well. So here we are 34 years later, still married. And I told her, I said, you know what, if you'd have shot me instead of marrying me, you would have been out on parole 14 years ago. But that's a choice she made. She stuck with me. So, now it's just us and the dogs. We forgot to have kids. We were out having so much fun seeing the world that we just, darn it,
yeah,
totally forgot to have kids. So it's she actually was involved with Masonic activities as well, because since her dad was a Mason, she got to join Job's Daughters. So she was a member of Bethel 1 in Omaha.
Okay.
Oh.
Back in the mid 60s, I guess. The late 60s,
yeah,
early 70s.
they're very closely affiliated with our lodge.
Yeah. I think there's been a couple of Bethels merging since the late 70s.
Yeah, there was a couple.
Yeah, but she was in the original
Okay.
Bethel 1.
I guess we're affiliated with Bethel 18.
18, but yeah, Bethel 1 is Bellevue. I believe they're Bellevue.
Yeah.
So.
It was funny because in Pennsylvania, we were, Gettysburg Lodge was invited to attend the, I can't remember what they call it, but they had the ceremony where they installed the new officers for the Bethel
Okay, the grand session, yeah.
Grand Session. And our lodge went, we sent a bunch of Master Masons and their spouses to support the activity. And I went with my wife, and they asked if anyone had been a Job's daughter to please stand up and state their name and their lodge in the city. So she stood up and said her name and said Bethel 1, Omaha. And we heard this little noise throughout the lodge room. It kind of sounded like, because she didn't think about it. When she said Bethel 1 Omaha, they thought that she was a inspector or something, or some official. And she's like, no, I just, not me.
I'm a past Joby.
You do your thing. And I'm just a past Joby. That's it. So that was kind of funny at the time.
Everybody had a panic attack.
Yeah.
Everybody had a panic attack pretty much, thinking, which word did I forget?
Bethel 1 just happens to be the mother lodge, that's all.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they were the original.
They're the original,
Bethel.
because Job Daughters was started here in Omaha.
Mhm.
And so Bethel 1 is the first Bethel ever started, so, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of things that happen in Omaha that don't seem to happen anywhere else, when we were on the East Coast and 2020 kicked off and the world kind of lost their collective mind, I think one of the main reasons that I moved back to Nebraska, because I was stationed here when I was in the military, like I said earlier, but we decided to move back because in our minds we were moving back to America.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because the East Coast and the West Coast went a little nutty, and we decided we don't want to be involved in that. So you find a lot of old school values in Nebraska that we like.
Yeah.
And I mean, the area I was in, 2-3 lodges tops. Omaha, 15, 17 lodges. The state of Nebraska, lots and lots of lodges.
Yeah.
So I know it's a much bigger state, but still, there just seems to be that kind of mentality where people are more apt to join a group or do charity work or just be nice to each other. And that's something I like about the Midwest a lot more.
Yeah, you hear that from those who are on the coast going, that lifestyle on those coasts is so much different than what we have here. We're just so much, it seems like we're so much laid back or just.
They used to call it Nebraska nice.
Is that what they
Yeah, Nebraska nice. Not so much at 6 in the morning on a Monday in downtown Omaha, but
Right.
with the traffic. But our current version of Nebraska nice.
There you go.
As long as you're not driving, we're pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
our fault that 90% of Omahans drive like assholes.
I actually have a theory about that. I think it's because of Offutt Air Force Base, and I'll tell you why. Not a bad thing. Not in a bad way. If you think about it, Offutt Air Force Base is populated by a lot of people that are not from here.
Correct.
Right.
They were stationed here, and they brought their bad driving habits with them. So we have an eclectic mix of people from everywhere.
But that's it. We're the melting pot of bad drivers.
Bad
We're
drivers.
the melting pot of
We're,
flyover
we're
states.
forcing them to be on the right side of the road and not the left side. All those things, so.
in a way, we're doing everybody a favor because the longer they live here, the more they get used to doing things the Nebraska way, which means they become better drivers.
There we go. There we go.
I do think that Omaha got rated again for the second time,
In second year in a row.
second year in a row for worst drivers in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to be good at something, man.
I heard a rumor that we got rated #1 by Forbes magazine for best place to live, Omaha.
Actually, Papillion, for several years, was the best
Yeah.
place to live.
Yeah.
And now, being in IT, I'm aware that we do have 2, 3 Google data centers in the area.
Yeah.
We have a Facebook Meta data center.
There's a
Huge area.
gigantic Facebook.
We have a lot of technology. They're starting to call this area Silicon Prairie,
Yeah.
and which I found amusing. Silicon Prairie.
Right.
It reminds me of some of the humor I heard in Pennsylvania about Amish tech support. That's when I sent a guy out with a pencil sharpener. But yeah, Silicon Prairie.
So when you went overseas,
Mhm.
did you get involved with any Masonic groups over there?
Curiously enough, no, because the first place I was stationed overseas was Iceland.
Okay.
And I was still active duty military. I wasn't a Mason yet. And in all my travels around Iceland, I never really spotted anything Masonic. I was too busy being young and single and partying and hanging out with the Marines, actually, because I used to do air base ground defense at the time. And there's a bunch of war stories we can share on a different podcast about that. And the second time was England. I spent 4 years in England. And it's kind of too bad that I wasn't a Mason yet because, as we know, modern Masonry pretty much started
Right.
in England. Never been to that pub in London, never been up to anywhere in Scotland that's Masonically important. So, no, and then my other adventure overseas was the Gulf during the first Gulf War. I wasn't looking for Masonic things
You
at
weren't?
the time, no. No, and we were being the opposite of Masonic towards our brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am curious, you being from Philadelphia or from Pennsylvania, how far from Philadelphia were you?
Unfortunately, I was about 30 minutes from Philadelphia, about another 30 minutes from Baltimore, south of Harrisburg. So there were a lot of interesting places that were close enough to share the urban struggle, but far enough out that I didn't have to see it on a daily basis. And I'm not actually originally from Pennsylvania either. That's just where I ended up. I lived a couple of places before that. Being in the military, you move around a lot.
Right.
Originally, I'm from Puerto Rico. A lot of people have a hard time with that because apparently I'm too tall, too pale, and I don't have that J-Lo accent. So I have to prove I'm Puerto Rican sometimes by speaking Spanish. It's bizarre, okay? I mean, last year I took the wife up to Rapid City, South Dakota for our anniversary. And I ended up wearing a Harley Davidson t-shirt, and I ended up wearing a cowboy hat, and I had my sunglasses on, and I had let my full beard grow in again, and I looked like ZZ Top. And there was this Hispanic family that came walking down the street, and I heard them talking, and I picked up the accent. I knew they were from Puerto Rico. Kind of like you hear somebody speaking English and you go, that guy's Australian.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I looked at him and I greeted him. I said, in Spanish, in Puerto Rican slang, I said, how are you doing? Hopefully you're enjoying your day. And they looked at me like I was a Martian. Their eyes bugged out and like, why is this ZZ Top looking white dude speaking like that? And I ended up talking to him for a little while, and they didn't turn out to be related to Masonry, but they were nice people. They were on a road trip, going around the U.S. seeing the sites. They were there to see Mount Rushmore. But yeah, apparently I don't fit the mold. I've been confused for Italian. I've been confused for Native American. I actually had a Native American woman from Colorado ask me what tribe I was from.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, that's how bad. This did not help.
Right.
Right. So
You said you didn't. You have the J-Lo butt.
no.
Okay.
TMI,
No.
Dave. TMI.
And hopefully you have not noticed.
Dave, this is not that
Not
kind
that
of
there's
show.
anything wrong with that. It is 2024.
This is not that kind of show, dude.
Well, it just he made mention they didn't have anything of J-Lo. I just want to make sure he had nothing of J-Lo. That's all.
That does bring up an interesting argument that came up in. That does bring up an interesting discussion that came up in Pennsylvania, because in Masonry, people have talked about you can't be a. I forgot the word. My 50-something-year-old brain went derp. You have to be of a certain moral fiber to be a Mason, and for a while there, back in the history, if you were LGBT, you were considered to be not Masonic material. And Masons have always been men, but they did not want gay men to join the Masons. And while we were in Pennsylvania, the Grand Lodge of England came out with a ruling saying that it's okay to be gay and be a Mason. We're inclusive that way. But then they also started talking about transgender. And what would happen if a brother Mason decided to become a transgender woman?
Right.
Well, according to the Grand Lodge of England, what I remember reading at the time, and I'm sure you'll get emails now with fact checks, but they basically said we're okay if a brother Mason wants to be a transgender female. However, while in lodge, they will still be called brother, and they still have to wear a tux, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So it went halfway into accepting them for who they are, but it didn't go the full way. I have no idea how you would handle that.
I don't need, and I've thought about that before too, and that's a real sticky situation, right?
Do they join the Eastern Star? Can they still be a brother Mason, although they are now considered socially, I guess, considered female?
Yeah,
It's a
right.
sticky subject.
Yeah,
There's gonna be
yeah,
a lot of people with a lot of different opinions on that.
There is, yeah, and I haven't thought enough about it to really even form my own opinion. Except the fact that, I mean, if you want to be a woman, and you can't be a woman and a Mason, so if you want to identify as a woman, then you shouldn't, like, you owe it to the
Technically,
brotherhood to not,
Yeah.
like, you should just bow out, right?
A libertine. That was the word I was trying to remember.
Oh, yes.
Because of Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was considered a libertine.
Right.
But I think Oscar Wilde was a Mason as well.
I believe you're right.
I think.
I believe you're right.
And according to some of the old Masonic teachings from the past 300 years, Masons should not be libertines. And technically, a gay man would be considered a libertine. I think it's silly. My lodge in Pennsylvania, we had members that are gay. But at the same time, they don't go around saying, "Hi, I'm Pete, I'm gay." It just doesn't come up in conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just thought that I'd throw that in there since you mentioned the whole butt thing, and I don't know if you noticed or if you didn't notice. It's fine. It's 2024.
We don't judge, Dave.
We don't know.
You.
We don't judge.
We don't.
We
I don't
totally
judge.
judge.
Yeah.
Yeah, my personal opinions. I don't care if you're gay, straight, black, white, purple, brown, short, tall.
Just pay your dues and be a Mason and
pay your dues. Treat people with respect.
Yeah.
Be the person your dog thinks you are.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, learn to better yourself and help others along the way and to be better. So yeah.
Yeah.
You got anything over there, Church Mouse?
Yeah. So you were kind of talking about when you were with your old lodge that they kind of had like the set up a party room with the lodge. How do you have any kind of ideas to bring new members to lodge?
Whoa, that's a very good question because everybody's got their own ideas and opinions about how to do that. And some of them are better, some of them are worse. It's a hard question to answer because there's so many different people out there and everybody likes so many different things and everybody has their own reasons for joining the Masons. So it's really hard to come up with one thing that, if we do this one thing, we'll double our membership. All I would say is if a lodge wants to grow, they have to want to do all the things that they need to do to attract people to their lodge. Make it a lodge that people want to join. Make it a group of people that an outsider looks at this group and says, those guys are having a lot of fun. Those guys seem to be doing something that I'd like to get involved with.
Yeah.
Be that lodge. And if you're lucky, you'll attract people and they'll just want to naturally come over and hang out with you. And then hit them with a petition.
Right.
So I do like the Prince Hall Lodge up in North Omaha. I think there's 7 lodges that meet there.
Yeah, it's like
Seven-ish.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Give or take. And there's one giant lodge room, what I perceive as giant compared to ours.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not that much bigger.
It's wider, basically. Yeah.
But anyway, downstairs they have a public walk-in off the street bar with a big party room in the back.
Yep.
And we went down there for a fellowcraft degree. Visited down there and watched that degree. And afterwards, is it current sitting Grandmaster?
Yes.
Michael Wilcoxon brought everybody downstairs, including us visitors, and bought everybody a couple rounds of drinks. And they had a food vendor there. I don't think he was there for the fellowcraft degree, but he was there regardless. And everybody, partook in some partook in some food and some drinks. And they had the jukebox going, and it was great. But I think if you could take something like that, mix it with something like you had with the game or activity room, because we joined the fraternity, right, to spend time with our brothers. It's the camaraderie. It's each one of us lifting each other up, and I just don't think that happens at a monthly meeting.
Well, and another thought is, if you're going to have a membership committee, you probably want an eclectic membership committee with a wide range of ages.
Yeah.
Because what's fun to you is not necessarily fun to you.
Right.
So, and you want to attract people of all ages. You want to attract more young people, really, because the problem they ran into in Pennsylvania was the average age in the lodge kept on creeping up and up and up.
Right.
And they felt it necessary, like a lot of Grand Lodges do, to record the ritual, write it down somewhere, stick it in a vault, do something, and in fears that eventually nobody will remember all the ritual because everybody will die of old age and there won't be young people coming behind to learn all the ritual. And that's kind of sad.
It is. Yeah.
I think the more young people that join Masonry, the better Masonry as a whole would be. It's just a question of how do you attract young people? What do young people want to do? And I know a lot of it is culture. The current culture is odd to me because it's not part of my cultural bubble. See, I have this theory that when you turn 18, you develop this culture bubble. And in that bubble is your preferred books, your preferred musicians, your preferred movies. All the things you like are in that bubble with you, and sometimes you share that bubble with other people. But as you get older, that bubble starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the singers you like get old.
Older, and they
The
go
actors
away.
you like pass away. And eventually you're in that bubble all by yourself, and everything outside the bubble is just very, very strange. And you don't know what's going on. And that's why it would be hard for somebody like me to figure out what would you find fun.
Yeah.
You know, what would make you want to join a lodge? So that's why I'm saying lodges should really try very hard to at least get some young people and then include them. Have them join
Yes.
the membership committee. Have them listen to their ideas. You know, what can we do to attract a 25-year-old to the lodge? Why would a 25-year-old even worry about doing charity and driving the little cars or wearing the fez or doing any of that? And how do we overcome some of the culture shifts that have happened in recent years
Right.
to make that happen?
My mind's still blown with my bubble's getting smaller.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting anxiety about the size of my bubble.
Well, eventually, I figure that's why the stereotypical mad old guy. Well, the older you get, the smaller your bubble gets. The stranger everything is, the madder you get. So of course, it's a cranky old guy.
Yeah.
It-
I like that.
No, it's a-
really makes
I
sense.
love that
It does.
analogy.
It's a great theory. I like
Yeah.
it.
Because I can see myself as, growing up in the 70s and 80s, that's my music, and then trying to listen to some of the crap they're playing today. Like,
But there's
how
people,
do you listen to that
Right.
stuff?
Exactly. But there's people today that they love that.
They love it, right?
That's what they grew up with.
Right.
That's all they know.
Right.
What really freaks me out is when I meet that 25-year-old who goes, "Oh yeah, Led Zeppelin, awesome, man,"
Yes.
because they
Yeah.
were raised by parents that exposed them to
Exposed
that
them
kind
to
of
it,
music,
right.
and that's what they grew up with. So,
Yeah, for you it's, REO Speedwagon.
Yes.
For me it's Nirvana.
Okay. Right.
And for you it's, I don't even know what the hell you listen to.
I like to say that I'm a member of George Orwell's class of 1984. That's when I graduated high school. So,
I graduated in 95. I'm not that far behind you.
not that far, but
Far enough.
yeah.
Let's just focus on the important thing is we're both way behind Dave.
That is so depressing because you could be my you
Class
could
of
be my son.
'82. I'm sorry.
If you were born in no, you graduated high school in '95.
Graduated in 95, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say you were born in '95. Yeah, don't do that kind of math around people because it's just depressing. When I was in the military, one of my goals was, please let me get out of the military before I have an airman come to work for me that was born when I was in basic training.
Oh, yeah.
That would
yeah.
be depressing. And now, being a contractor, I have captains that could be my grandkid. And it's weird. And that happens in lodge. You'll have lodge brothers that it's your lodge brother,
Yeah.
but outside of the lodge, that could be your grandson.
Yeah.
Well, that's like Gabe. Gabe
Yeah.
is Heath's age.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Our master right now is 26. So,
Yeah.
So,
And and that's another thing too. I think one of the reasons why you probably will not see women masons is because I would never be able to explain to my wife that I have to go visit my worshipful mistress. It just wouldn't work.
oh yeah.
It's better that we just leave that one alone.
But isn't that kind of like what you've got now in the marriage? It's yes, ma'am. Yes.
I am the king of my castle. She's the prime minister.
Right.
I get to go like this. Most of my
Right.
paychecks.
My mistress is, how do you say it? It's not little Debbie, it's a plus size Deborah.
Big Deborah.
Big Deborah.
Ooh,
That's my mistress.
ooh.
On that
I don't
note,
know.
we're going to take another quick break. Hear from a show sponsor. When we come back, we're going to talk about teachings in everyday life, what we could change about the fraternity, and then we're just going to open up and go wild and talk about whatever pops in our head. All right, are we cutting?
Yep.
Cut. You didn't clap, Dave.
At Homeward Handyman Services, we pride ourselves on being honest and giving every job the attention it deserves. Owned and operated by a master mason with 2 decades of expertise in home repair. We are bonded and insured, and we carry the highest standards when it comes to taking care of your home. Whether you need a faucet changed or a light remodel, we can take care of your home improvement needs. Call Michael at 402-915-0824 today for a free estimate.
And we're back,
And we're back.
baby. Right, Dave?
I think we are.
Not. Never mind. I'm not calling you baby.
Did you miss me?
I did.
I missed me too.
So, how do you use Masonic teachings in your everyday life?
That's a hard question to answer
It is.
because it's not something that we go around thinking all the time.
Right, it's not a conscious decision to do that.
No, it's just something that comes naturally. It's the way you are, in my opinion. I mean, if you're going to be a nice guy, don't force it. Be a genuine nice guy. Don't be a nice guy because you have to or because somebody else wants you to be nice. If you're going to do that, then you're not being genuine to yourself or anybody else.
Right.
So,
I have a theory that there's no such thing as a selfless act, right? And I may or may not have stolen that from an episode of The Simpsons, but like you can bend over backward, give somebody a shirt off your back for no reason at all, but it's going to make you feel better, so you benefit from that. So there is no such thing as a selfless act. However, I keep going back to this, and it sound like a really dumb, broken record, but be the person your dog thinks you are.
I'll admit there is a certain level of satisfaction with doing something nice for somebody. You do feel good about it. You get that dopamine rush or whatever.
Yeah,
That you did something good and somebody can benefit, and hopefully that'll motivate them to pass it on to somebody else, make somebody else's day a little better. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my hope, is the pay it forward aspect. I told Gabe we filmed his first part of his Masonic journey the other night. I told him it's going to be interesting because we filmed that just in between his being voted in and when he was initiated. So I said it'll be fun to, once we get all of that episode, because we're going to film every degree. Or not the degree, we're not going to film the degree. Don't freak out and send emails. So we're going to interview him after each degree.
There we go.
So we can get his perspective as he's going through it at the time. Not like once he's all done and try to think back what he was thinking when he got his EA. But it's going to be amazing, I think, to see how he carries himself, the way he speaks. I mean, even the words he chooses.
No pressure on him.
Right, but
I mean, what if he doesn't show?
Well, and that's fine. 'Cause, I mean, he's a good enough dude. He's in.
yeah,
You know, he doesn't need to improve. I'm just going to say it. For me, I did change when I went through, and maybe not right away, but there was a change. Started to see things a little differently. It wasn't.
all cynical.
Yeah. There's somewhat of an innocence in the fraternity. Like the brotherly love, and it's not because I really like you. I mean, I've met you once and then tonight, but we're brothers, and there's an instant bond.
That's one of the things that I've heard people, especially non-Masons, say that it kind of freaks them out in a way, and it makes them think that, are you guys real? Because I can go to the middle of nowhere, Alabama, and if I get in trouble, let's say I crash my car or I get hurt or whatever, or I need something, I can go to any Masonic lodge, and I know that people will drop whatever they're doing and try to help me out.
Yep.
Even though they don't know me from Adam, the only thing they know is that I'm a brother Mason. And they'll help my wife because she's the wife of a brother Mason.
Yep.
And I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but it seems sad that in today's culture that is considered odd.
I agree.
That somebody
Right.
would just go out of their way to help a stranger in need just because.
Yep.
Not expecting anything in return, not expecting any compensation or any reward, just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, you go back to like the Little House on the Prairie show, where everybody was helping everybody just because they needed to help somebody.
Little House on the Prairie, sponsored by Kleenex.
But yeah, so from that time zone to where we're at now, we've lost something in the humanity of being able to help somebody just because and not benefiting from it.
Life has become too fast.
That it has.
I've noticed that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as a technologist, I do love my iPhone because I literally have the world at my fingertips.
Right.
I also hate my iPhone because I literally have the world at my fingertips.
Yeah.
The internet has done some great things. It allows anybody anywhere to learn anything they want to do. It allows communication. Masons from everywhere can talk to Masons from everywhere else. But it also brought us the phone zombies.
Yeah.
You know, the people that this is their life. They're just walking around looking at their phone all day. And
Yeah. I'm probably the only person in my generation that'll ever say it, but phones and well, phones really are just the rise and downfall of society.
Well, it's if you're in traffic or in a parking lot or whatever, and you see some guy beating up his girlfriend, the culture today is grab your phone and film it instead of break the window and kick the guy's ass. And nobody even calls the police. They just get their phone out and start filming it.
now, on the one hand, it's not totally a bad thing because at least
No.
there's video evidence.
There is
of
evidence,
the
yes.
crime.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, how about if we just set the phone down so that it can record the event while you go kick the guy's butt?
Right.
You know, so that there's evidence that this is why I kicked his butt. You know,
I think that might be the problem with society. I think phones are okay. I think internet's good for everything. I just think not enough people get their asses kicked.
Well, how many times you've seen
Yeah.
two people sitting next to each other, communicating back and forth with each other on the phone instead of communicating? And this is why this has been fun, because we're able to sit around and BS and talk and not get a true feeling of what the hell's going on in this conversation, and not, oh, I think that's what he said.
Yeah.
informal survey, and please don't blow up his email about this, but amongst the four of us, who has ever texted their spouse while you're both in the same house?
No.
In the same house?
Yeah.
Yes.
All the time.
Yeah. You're in the same house. It's just you and your spouse, and you text her.
Only because the wife is even more illiterate on the tech side than I am. So
Now, in my defense, it's usually a funny video from Facebook or something. I don't text her like,
bring me a beer.
it's not communication. It's like I'm sending funny stuff. Or something.
I've done it, but I was requesting an airdrop of paper supplies to the restroom. But still.
Yeah. Or it's I'm sharing a file with her so she can print it out or something like that.
Usually it's just me being lazy.
Yeah, I would have.
That's another reason why the phones are so
I don't
popular. They're so
wanna-
convenient.
I don't want to get up and walk to the other side of the house and say something or yell across the house, so I just text her.
I call that redneck phone. Hey! Yeah.
Your house is the same size as mine. You could spit to the other end of your house. That'd be a pretty good loogie, but
That would.
Pretty accurate, too.
And on that note,
so now that we're off the rails like
Yes.
a normal show.
Or on this note,
So let's. What would you change about the fraternity if Pete Vargas Moss is Grand Master of the world today? What's something you would change?
I really don't know, because there's just going from Pennsylvania to Nebraska is like going from Masonic Planet A to Masonic Planet B. So something that works in Nebraska doesn't necessarily work in California and vice versa. Because you're talking about different people, different culture, different area of the country, different mindset. I don't know. Crazy idea. Every lodge in Nebraska, double your annual dues. Because one of two things is going to happen. The people that really don't want to be there in the first place are going to stop paying their dues and go away. And the people that really want to be there are just going to go ahead and pay the dues. Crazy idea out of left field. I once got to hang out with some of the Prince Hall lodge people from the Gettysburg area. And I think, if I remember correctly, I was told that their annual dues were somewhere in the region of $2,000 a year.
Wow.
And I will rephrase what they told me because it's not that kind of podcast. But basically, they said it keeps out the riffraff.
Yep.
If you pay $2,000 a year to join a club, you really want to be in that
there.
club, and you will participate. You'll show up. You will be all kinds of enthusiastic.
That's where I was going to go with that is, granted, I don't want to pay that much,
Right.
but there's a lot to be said for being financially and emotionally, they kind of go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Of being invested in what you're doing. If you're paying $300 a year to be a member of a lodge, you want to feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Now, some people will argue that, well, if you raise the dues, you're going to lose people.
Yeah, you probably
But
will.
you may have less people, but you're getting more money per person, so you're making up for the loss of people. And if someone's going to quit the lodge solely because the dues went up, then why are they at the lodge? Are they there just because it's a cheap club to join and get away from the wife for a couple of hours? Or are they there because they actually want to be better people and participate in charities and do events? You know? Probably unpopular opinion. Don't put my email address on the comment section.
Yeah, I don't totally disagree with that theory in a way.
Yeah, I mean, and I can see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I mean, in our lodge, the annual dues is, what are we up to? $88.50 a year?
That's roughly what ours are.
We're at $83.50.
There's people that donate more than that to the Red Cross every year.
Oh yeah.
So to them, $88.50, yeah, you know, I'm a member of the club. They can use the $88.50, and then they never show up for lunch time. Mm-hmm. That doesn't do us any good.
Right.
On my books, I have about 70 people in Centennial Lodge. I have not seen 70 people in the lodge room
That's about the same
since
as
I've been
We're
there.
at 66. We're 66.
and we get
8, 7, 8.
10, yeah. You get your 10%.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I got that core group of people that always show up to all the meetings and participate in things.
Yeah.
And then there's everybody else. Now, granted, I understand that there's some people that don't show up because they're 127 years old
Yeah.
and they're living in a home and they don't remember who they are. But we, you know, Masons take care of Masons.
Right.
So it's fine. There's some people that got perpetual memberships just in case they ever get to the point where they can no longer pay the
Yeah.
dues or they can no longer attend the lodge. They can still be a Mason. Fine, I understand that. But there's people out there that are purposely sending in a check once a year and that's it. That's their whole participation.
Yeah.
Which that's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Yeah.
I take a lot of pride in almost knowing my lines as senior warden.
I'm so glad the secretary doesn't have lines. I'm terrible at memorizing things.
But it's like I would love to see some of the guys, the old guys, young guys, just in general, guys that don't come to lodge. I would love to, because maybe lodge was totally different when they quit coming. Or,
You know, that's a crazy idea. How about have a younger lodge member paired with an older or elderly lodge member that hasn't been to lodge in a while? Contact the guy, call him up, go visit him and say, hey, you want to go to lodge? I'll drive. I'll come pick you up, take you to the lodge. We'll do the whole lodge thing, and then when we're done, I'll take you home and drop you off.
I don't hate any bit of that.
No.
Yeah,
Maybe-
that's actually
Maybe
decent
the
idea.
reason the gentleman hasn't been to lodge is because he's 90 years old and no longer has a driver's license
Right.
Yeah.
or a car.
Or can't drive at night, or
And,
yeah.
it could be, maybe he
number
lives
of
by
things.
himself now.
Right.
Maybe
It's
his
got
spouse has
99
passed
problems,
away.
but a lodge ain't one.
Right.
Right.
See what I did there?
Yeah, nice.
I'm so trendy.
So there's an idea. That
I think you might have just solved some of the problems of Freemasonry.
And then the rusty
I don't
trowel,
go that far.
the rusty
That's a
trowel thing comes into play there. There's a good possibility that they don't remember
Yeah.
what needs to be done in that degree, and what words need to be said. That newer member, that younger member.
Almost like a reverse mentoring.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I think there should really be a real rusty trowel with real rust on it.
Okay.
I got about 6 of them in my garage.
Just need to get them engraved.
I have an engraver too.
So Nebraska Masons out there, you've heard two unique ideas how to grow this fraternity and bring it back stronger. Let's start working on this. I think.
Yeah, I think if you want to see the change, you have to make it happen. You can't talk about it. Like, we can't come here on a podcast and talk about how to make masonry better,
Yeah.
and then that's where it stops. Like, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody's got to do something about
At
it.
some point, someone has to get up and do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be the cliche saying. If you want to see the change, you got to be the change.
He's so
I've heard
smooth.
that before.
He's so smooth.
He is.
I like that.
Speaking of old movies, he's a smoothie.
Yep.
Maybe the generations should start meeting each other halfway and, teach the older Masons how to play Dungeons and Dragons, and maybe the older Masons can share some of
that
that
ain't
Led
me.
Zeppelin music with the younger Masons. And
I'm the opposite way.
Actually,
you don't play D&D at all?
No,
Really?
I don't even know what it is. I mean, I know what it is. I've heard of it, but that's it.
I tried for a while back in the 80s and I couldn't get into it, but
so I had an idea very shortly before we started this podcast of starting a club in the shrine of, was it degree in ritual work?
right.
Or like basically a lodge club, right? Where guys could come in, maybe the guys that are they became Master Mason, they joined the Shrine or the Scottish Rite, and then they just never been to lodge again, right? Maybe they kind of want to get back into lodge, but they've got some anxiety because I don't remember the words and I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. So I thought about, hey, we could start a club in the Shrine that we just, every meeting we cover something that one of the guys wants to work on.
There's a thought.
Here's opening and closing. If you want to work on junior warden, here's some lines we could go over, and you could talk about all of it because you're all Masons.
Right.
And make it a competition.
Yeah.
A little bit of friendly peer pressure, a little bit of competitive spirit. And
Which I'm really surprised. We talked with your sister in her episode. I'm 100% surprised there is not lodge competitions on some level.
Yeah.
Whether it's ritual competition or degree work, proficiency, something.
Yeah, because the Job daughters during their grand session have competitions, and they just had their grand session last week. My granddaughter competed in 4 different categories, being single, memorization, or group organization memorization, and so yeah, I think maybe it would be kind of cool for lodges to compete.
Let's be honest here. For single memorization, Eric's taking the cake on everything.
But yeah, I mean,
Okay, here's the new rule. Grand Lodge officers are exempt from
there
competition.
you go. But if it would force lodges that really wanted to prove themselves and say that they're better than the other guys, could be fun, and
Do something fun, kind of like the traveling gavel.
Right.
Some kind
I
of
mean, like Lodge Olympics.
yeah.
I chuckle because we recently saw a cartoon, a meme, that had a bunch of people standing at a starting line. I think we're going to run a marathon, but the banner said 0.0001. I can't remember how many zeros. Math nerds, don't freak out on me. 0.0001 kilometer race, and the finish line was about 2 meters from the starting line. And over at the lodge, we looked at that cartoon and we thought, Masons could do that. We could make it to the finish line. It's only 2 meters, right? All you got to do is basically fall forward, right? So that could be one of the competitions of the Masonic Olympics,
Yeah.
the 2 meter dash.
Then we had another great idea on the show too, is turn your lodge room into a Masonic escape room.
I've heard of that.
Like you'd have to have
You were talking about that
Yep.
on the podcast.
yeah, have to have Masonic knowledge, and some inside info. But I think that would be fun.
that was fun.
I think that would be a very long stated meeting, though.
Yeah, it'd have to be like not even an official meeting. It'd just
Right.
be kind of an event.
The meeting that never ends. Let me out.
It'd be a blast though.
Yeah. That reminds me of a story I heard of somebody that went to the Philippines, and a Mason, and while they were there, they decided it would be interesting to visit a Masonic lodge in the Philippines. The problem was they didn't speak the local language. And they went to a local lodge, and the locals were friendly, like Masons are, but there was a language barrier, and the locals were trying to figure out if these guys really were Master Masons or not.
Yeah.
So they did the sign language thing, and they told them to wait. They went inside of their lodge, and then after a while, they came out and they got them, and they brought the two Americans into the lodge. And the Americans, the first thing they saw was a huge pile of furniture in the middle of the lodge room. What these guys had done was they took all the chairs, the desks, everything, just piled it up in the middle.
Ah.
And they pointed at the pile, and they pointed at these guys, and they figured out what they wanted them to do was put everything where it belonged. So they did. They put the lodge room together, and that's how they proved that they were Masons.
Did you hear that story at Grand Lodge?
No, I heard that story years ago in Pennsylvania.
Okay, because that sounds similar to a story we heard from a future guest at
Yes.
Grand Lodge.
Yes.
But he's going to be on the show.
Maybe he was one of those two guys that went to the Philippines.
He might have been because he was in the. I think he was in the Navy.
Navy.
The guy we talked to.
Oh yeah, because we used to have Subic Bay, a naval station.
And he said, there's no signs on the buildings or anything. You walk in this back alley and through another alley in a secret corridor, and
almost like a secret society. Is that weird?
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I do have to hand it to American Freemasonry. We are the, as far as secret societies go, we really
We're
suck
bad.
at it. Everybody knows, so.
Hey, well, we're getting pretty close on time, aren't we, Bubba?
I got 6.5 minutes.
6.5 minutes.
We can yap a little more.
Well, I got all the closing stuff here.
Oh, we can do that in 6 minutes.
Okay. All right. So, you have any shout outs, kiddo?
I'll get back to you on that.
All right. Pete, do you have any shout outs?
Shout out to Gettysburg Good Samaritan Lodge. Shout out to Centennial Lodge, and shout out to National Sojourners. You're all awesome.
I'll do my shout out to Lodge 288, which we've been invited to film a show at their car show tomorrow, which will be last Saturday for you. And the show will air a Monday, 2 Mondays from now.
2 Mondays from now. Yeah. That's gonna be a fun event, I think.
Yeah.
Especially then they're benefiting the Nebraska
Humane Society.
So we'll have a discussion with them too, and so again, the Masons reaching out in the community and helping the community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll be interviewing guys from Lodge 288 that organized the show, and also we will be interviewing Pam Weiss,
Yes.
who's the CEO of Nebraska Humane Society.
Shout out for me. For those who are watching this episode and run with some of the ideas we threw out there tonight,
Absolutely.
that's a shout out to you. So if you take one of these ideas and able to run with it, let us know, because we'd love to talk to you and see what you learned here and how you adapted it. And so shout out to our brothers out there that take an idea off this show and make it fun and make it work. So
Yeah.
Just drop a note in the comments. And
Yeah.
Yep. Note in the
Let us know how it
comments.
worked out.
Our email, studio357podcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We have a link tree. We actually have two things on Facebook. We have a podcast page and a podcast group.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason, you want to shout out, bud?
Shout out to these wonderful gentlemen, to our wonderful guest. Thanks for having me here as well. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being here since your sugar numbers are crazy.
I'm doing good now. So.
Okay.
Did you level out?
No, it's still high, but I'm good.
He's still going to die. All right. July 7th, Beehive Lodge is having our ladies at the table.
Yep.
Pretty excited about that. Our second one ever. So it'll be less of a shit show this time.
That wasn't much of
It wasn't bad.
No, we were learning and
We kind of
we had some fun.
Kind of flew through it.
Yeah.
I served the wine great.
You did
did.
serve the wine good. You are not a steward this year, though. Nope. Then July 27th, we're having Beehive Night at the Shrine Temple at Tangier Shrine. Obviously, any Master Masons are welcome to come down and join us if you want to meet some of us
Yeah.
or the guys from our lodge, or just hang out and
Playing
have some fellowship, and we'll shoot pool on a 100-year-old table, and we can throw darts and jam some music.
sit around BS and have a few drinks.
Yep.
and-
If you're lucky enough, you might get to see Joe dance.
That's not happening.
And if you donate $1 to Masonic Charities, you won't get to see Joe dance.
Yes. I like that more gooder.
And in July, Centennial Lodge is going to be having their annual corn feed,
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
which also, maybe we should talk because that might be an interesting place to do a podcast from.
It very well could be.
Yeah.
Nice.
When's the date on that? No?
I'll have to get back to you. It'll be
Okay.
on social media. It'll be on all our social media. It'll be on the website.
Have your people call my people.
Exactly.
We did get an email from Michael Williams. He's in Lancaster Lodge 54. They're having an event Sunday, July 21st. It is called Masonic Panic / Music on the Green. They're going to have, it's primarily a Sesostris event, I'm gathering by all this. There's a lot of stuff here. I'm trying to see if there's a website or something.
There's a 1-step, 2-step process. You can just. We'll throw the flyer in.
Yeah,
You
we'll-
attach the flyer. We'll throw a flyer in with it too.
Yeah, they sent it. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, we'll just put the flyer at the end of the show if you want to see it. It's called Music on the Green, All Masonic Picnic for Friends and Family, July 21st from 1 to 5 p.m. Bring your blankets, chairs, drinks, and snacks.
Sounds like a party.
It's in Davie, Nebraska. As long as I don't get too lost here.
And Davie, not to be confused with David City, Nebraska.
Right. Not close to each other, by the
No,
way.
they're not.
If you watch us on YouTube or Spotify, please subscribe. I think most of our viewership is subscribed now, over 50%.
Oh no, I haven't looked at that in a while.
What kind of producer are you?
Well,
Lots of
summertime hit,
numbers.
we got busy with car shows. And
Right.
I've been busy at the doctor like once a week.
Yeah.
I wish they would stop practicing on us though and just get on with it and do actual
Do it.
medicine.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to find us on Facebook, just send us a message. It is just search Studio 357 Podcast. I think that's probably about it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, look at that. 19 seconds to go.
Yep.
With that,
we made
until
it.
next time, travel well, my brothers.
Travel well, guys.
Travel well, baby.
Trouble well.
Cut!